According to the psychologists of the world, is that it takes 7 touches for someone to truly trust you. According to Google, the average in the B2B space is 14. The shorter that we can make the decision-making cycle, the more ethical and experience we can provide for everyone. I believe that if you're using urgency and scarcity to get someone across the line, that is an ethical way to do business. And the reason why is that if it takes you 2 meetings, 3 meetings, 5 meetings to sign a client, who is paying for that meeting? They just want to know that they're making the right decision. Referrals is hope-based marketing, because it's not really within your control now, is it? You can do things that are gonna hopefully get you more referrals, but unfortunately referrals from a marketing perspective is no different to hope. Hello and welcome to this week's Game Changer and Power Tactic. Woohoo! Now today we're gonna be talking about something called strategic CAC. Strategic CAC. CAC stands for cost to acquire a client. Yay! So CAC is a really common term in the internet marketing world. If you've ever run any Facebook ads, you'll have heard of CAC. If you've ever run a SaaS company, software as a service, you'll have heard of CAC and CAC payback time. When I say cost to acquire a client, what type of cost am I particularly talking about? I am talking about, yeah, you know it, cold, hard cash. That's what we're generally talking about when people talk about the cost to acquire a client. Now, when I talk about cold hard cash, once again, it comes back to concepts that are really typical in digital marketing, in SaaS, in the Facebook advertising world, for example. Cost to acquire a client is how much people will be spending on ads. Now, if you're in B2B, you might not be spending money on ads. Give us a shout out if you spend money on Facebook ads for your business. Give me a yes or a no, or Google ads or some sort of ads. Now, I'm not expecting this number to be high. Indeed, I'm asking this question because I'm waiting for people to say no, which is generally what I'm getting. Tim has said yes. Dean has said yes intermittently. Dean runs an agency and he runs ads for his clients. So he runs ad there. Dean knows exactly what CAC means. Cost to acquire a client. In the B2B space, it's not generally typical for people to be spending money on ads. If you are not spending cash, what are you spending to acquire a client? Time. You will be spending time. So when I say the strategic cost to acquire a client, what I'm really talking about are the ways that we as B2B business owners are typically spending our time inefficiently or ineffectively. If you don't have a strategy, the cost is high. If you have a half-baked strategy, the cost is high. If you have a strategy and then you don't follow that strategy, the cost is high. In a really, really simple way, when we have a strategic approach to our sales and marketing, we reduce the cost to acquire a client. And that's what we're going to be talking about right now. So let's bring this back to you and your business, and let's talk about the big challenges, the big frustrations, the big headaches in your business. And I'm going to start with, where shall I start? I think I'm going to start at the pointy end. Does everybody know what I'm talking about when I say the pointy end? What's the pointy end of the deal? The pointy end of the deal is where the rubber hits the road, where the deal gets done. And when I'm talking about the pointy end, more often than not, I am talking about the sales piece. Yes, sales. What are some of the challenges that you face? What are some of the feelings that this conjures up when I start to talk about sales and selling? And it will be different for everyone. Some people, when it comes to sales and selling, it totally lights them up. So for my business partner, John Inglesos, totally lights him up. When it comes to sales and selling, for me, I tend to get a little bit anxious. I've never been an awkward seller, but I've always been a slightly uncomfortable seller. When it comes to the pointy end of the deal, there are too many damn meetings. Too many damn meets, aren't there? Too many damn meetings. Now, if our strategic approach to the pointy end of the deal is ineffective, of course, we're going to have too many damn meetings. We're going to have 3, we're going to have 5, we're going to have 10 meetings to sign one client, when it should be as simple as one meeting, or maybe one meeting and a decision call, or maybe one meeting and then a meeting to meet the whole team and then a decision call, depending on the ticket price and the type of industry that you're in. But the shorter that we can make the decision-making cycle, the more ethical and experience we can provide for everyone. Because here's the reality. I believe that if you're using urgency and scarcity to get someone across the line, that is an ethical way to do business. And the reason why is that if it takes you 2 meetings, 3 meetings, 5 meetings to sign a client, who is paying for that meeting? I know that you're paying for the meeting because we're talking about time here, but somebody else is paying for it as well too. Now, another bit about the pointy end is the explaining and the re-explaining. The constant need to explain and then explain and then explain. You do it again and you do it again and you do it again. The constant need to explain things. Why do we often find ourselves in a position where we're constantly needing to explain ourselves? And what is the typical next step when that happens? So the number one reason why we tend to find ourselves in a constant need to explain ourselves is that a lot of the time we're offering different things to different people, slightly different bespoke, custom programs and services, all that type of stuff, which means that every time we go in, we need to reinvent the wheel. And do you know what I really hate about this? Is that when I find myself needing to explain or re-explain because the person just doesn't get what I'm talking about, you know how the meeting ends. The meeting ends when they say, can you just send me a proposal? In the not so golden days, when I started sales for the first time, I would use that as an excuse. I would use that as an excuse to not force a decision on the call. I would say things like, oh, well, maybe I'll just go get you a proposal. Yeah, so if we can't explain ourselves, someone asks for a proposal or we offer to send them a proposal, that is a feet-dragging exercise. It's procrastination. It's delaying on everybody's part. And it sucks. I hate that. Now, what else about sales and selling do we not like about the pointy end of the deal? Someone just give me one thing that you don't like about sales or selling, or maybe you can throw down a word that summarizes your mindset when it comes to this stuff. Rejection. I love that word. Rejection. Yeah, rejection. I was going to use the word ickiness, but yeah, rejection, ickiness, ghosting. Right? You know, when we meet with someone, we have a meeting, they say, hey, can you send me a proposal? And then instead of organizing the next meeting, you send the proposal and then you want to set up the next meeting and then they ghost you. All right? These are terrible, terrible, terrible things. Now, if we were trying to fix this or to flip this on its head, what might we need? What might we need if we want to flip this and turn this on its head? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle on the screen here right now. I'm going to draw a circle. This is our brilliant future. To be the prize, says Andrew. Yep, that's something that we need. I'm going to put in something a little bit more functional, something that we can pull together and assemble on our own. Now, I can use words like codification. I can use words like strategic closing framework, right? That's what we need, a strategic closing framework. But I'm going to throw this down as something as simple as, I don't know, I'm going to use this as an example, a rate card. Now, a rate card is a codification of what it is that you do. When it does come to the pointy end of the deal, we have these 3 parts. You ready? We have before the call, we have during the call, and then we have after the call, don't we? So if you want to handle an objection, when do you think is the best time to handle a typical client objection? The best time to handle a client objection is before the call, before it even comes up. That's the best time to handle a client objection, before the call. During the call. Now, during the call, everybody just kind of jumps on the call and they wing it. They use their hustle or their flair. Wouldn't it be better to have a system to build anticipation before the call? Wouldn't it be better to have a process that you can deliver the same meeting every time during the call? And what about this follow-up piece after the call? Oh, yeah, I should check in. I was going to check in. I was going to follow up. I didn't follow up. I don't want to follow up too often. I don't want to come across as obnoxious. Oh, my God, I forgot to follow up. It's been too long now. It would be awkward and embarrassing if I actually followed up. We need a system for this. So a strategic closing framework. And as a bare minimum, I'm going to say a great place to start is to simply have a rate card. Here's my next question for you. Should you show your clients your rate card? Is a rate card something that you prepare and give to your clients? Give me a yes or a no. Because the funny thing is, in our world, we're not selling cartons of milk and loaves of bread. There are no set benchmarks for what it is that we do. Our customers and clients don't really have a clear understanding or expectation of how much they should be paying for what it is that we do. I'm getting crickets here. Should you show your clients your rate card? Now, part of the reason why I'm getting silence here is that I'm guessing that a lot of people on this call don't even have a rate card, right? Because every client is different, and that's the way it works. So should we show it to them? Now Tim says we customize our pricing. Dean says no. Robert says I don't bill by the hour. Depends on volume. I'm getting some fairly mixed and all over the place responses here. It's a tough one. I believe that you should definitely have a rate card, but your rate card is for you. It's not something that you publish on your website. It's something for you so that when you can present it to somebody, you can present it at the end of the sales call after you've done the elevating anticipation. During the sales call, Act 1, discovery. Act 2, deliver value. Act 3, diagnose. So when you diagnose, you can say, I've got 2 or 3 options. This is the best option for you. And then you can introduce the package that's relevant to them because you have your rate card. Then after the call, do your follow-up. Meet Naomi here. So Naomi put together what we call a 3PO rate card. It stands for 3-part offers. And when we put together a 3-part offer in our business, or when we're helping other people, what we're doing is we're not saying, here is what we've got, right? Here's what we've got. What we're doing is when we say, here's what we've got, we're creating a yes or a no dynamic. It's not one option, there are 2. You can take it or leave it, right? Yes or no. If we introduce 2 options, we have an either or option. If we have 3 options, what we can do is we can do a little bit of anchor pricing. So I can't see the prices here, but typically you'll start off with something big that might be outside the reach of the person that you're speaking with. Then you'll introduce something small, at which point they'll go, phew, I can afford that. And then you'll introduce the thing that you actually really want them to buy, which is a little bit more expensive than that, only a little bit more, but a lot more value, and a lot less expensive than that, but a good chunk of value as well too. So this is Naomi. She says, I've more than tripled my rates. My bookings have gone up and I now have better fit clients who value my services and expertise more and more. I now have an actual waiting list. Now, the line that I want you to see here is this word, I tripled my rates. We got a number of testimonials from Naomi because her story was so spectacular and interesting. She started off as a freelance copywriter. She would schlep across to somebody's house because they'd say, hey, I think I might want to hire you. She tells a wonderful story where someone said, I think I want to hire you. Can you come meet me at my office? She schlepped across town, like, an hour commute. She went to someone's house that apparently smelled like, I don't know, ferret piss. The person went through all the different things that they wanted her to do. And then she said, what's your budget? And the person said $500. Naomi took the job. And that was because she was someone selling her services and expertise. Now, she stepped into our world. She began to codify what it is that she do. She broke it down into a 3-part offer. And the reason why I've got this highlighted where it says I've more than tripled my rates is that the testimonial originally said I've more than doubled my rates. And then she came back 2 weeks later and said, I've now more than tripled my rates. And the reason why is that if you have a codified rate card, for example, you can present it to someone. And what happened is that the first person that she met took the biggest offer, right? So she doubled all her rates and then she doubled them again. But Naomi is a smart cookie. So she didn't stop there. She took it a whole lot further, and I'm going to come back to that. So the things when it comes to selling, when we're talking about strategic CAC, there is the first piece of the puzzle, which is the pointy end. That there is where the rubber hits the road, where the deal gets done. That is the sales piece. Now, if the sales piece is problematic, what is another piece of the puzzle that could and might be problematic to you in your world? If we talk about sales, we can also talk about marketing. Now, what I'm going to write down here is I'm going to write down not the marketing piece. I'm going to write down the chasing, the chasing piece. So the same way that the pointy end of the deal drives us nuts, the other part of the piece of the puzzle that drives us nuts is the marketing piece, which I'm going to call the chasing piece. And that is because we spend a lot of time chasing. Indeed, we spend a lot of time, let's see if I can fit this in, convincing. Do you know why we have to spend a lot of time convincing? Because a lot of the time we're not known. We're not known. We have no footprint. We don't stand for anything. We don't have profile visibility. We might be viewed as a cog in a bigger machine if we work for somebody else. We're not known. And if we're not known, that typically means no respect. But we meet with someone and we're stuck going, I know that we're the best for you. And here I am trying to convince you that I know what I'm talking about. It's so frustrating. It's so tedious. So the convincing. The other one is the random acts of marketing. Hey, I saw something on my Facebook feed, so I think I'll give that a go. My neighbor's cousin's nephew said that they tried something. I think I'm going to give that a go. The random acts of marketing. Don't say you haven't done it. You know, it's when you meet someone and they say, I think I'm going to do a podcast. All right, what's your off ramp for that? I didn't have an off ramp. I just wanted to do a podcast, right? Random acts of marketing. If you have no system, you have no certainty. No system, no certainty. But when you have systems, you have sanity. I'll just put this out there. Referrals is not a marketing strategy. It's not a marketing strategy because it's not really within your control now, is it? You can do things that are going to hopefully get you more referrals along the way. And one of those things is being good at what you do. And I love getting referrals because it is a good indication of me being good at what it is that I do. But unfortunately, referrals from a marketing perspective is no different to hope. That is the strategy. I am going to hope that people are going to step into my world because somebody else that I haven't seen in months may or may not tell someone that I've also never met that I'm good at what it is that I do. Referrals is hope-based marketing. All right, if we're over the chasing and the convincing and the random acts of marketing, being addicted or over-reliant on referrals, what do we need? What is the strategic CAC if we want to flip this on its head, if we want to turn this around? And again, I'm going to draw another circle. What do we need? What would be useful if we wanted to reverse this? We need some sort of predictable leads engine. Some people might use the word funnel, but I believe that funnel goes beyond that. A predictable leads engine needs to involve a little bit of content. It needs to have a function where you can book the meeting. We call it an AWP, an appointment with purpose, not some vague invitation to catch up. And you will need some sort of like application funnel. An application funnel where people are voluntarily entering your world and making the decision to be part of it so that you can follow up or they can take themselves on their next journey, next part of the journey. We call it an application funnel because somebody is applying to meet with you. So if we talk about the strategic cost, one thing that I do know is that people don't have content. So they spend half their life convincing. I know that people are randomly reaching out to people with vague offers and invitations to catch up. So they don't have a strategic approach to getting a meeting, an appointment with purpose. Everything is done manually, booking meetings, chasing people, following up, pre-qualifying people. And then you get on a call with someone. You know, down here, we talked about the idea of rejection or multiple meetings or trying to explain something to people 1,000 times. That can be avoided as well too if you have some sort of like funnel. This is Ben. Let me show you Ben. So when I talk about some sort of predictable leads engine, a PLE, what I'm typically talking about is something that we call our recipe. Now, a recipe is something that we've been teaching and training for almost a decade now, right? And we began teaching and training this before the word funnels were really used in any popular way. So we called it the recipe because it was the recipe about getting customers and clients, largely on autopilot. And we can break it down as something as simple as you post something on social media and you invite someone to your landing page. When you invite someone to your landing page and they opt in, we will redirect them to some sort of mini qualification form or diagnostic. After someone completes their diagnostic, we invite them to book a meeting with you, an appointment with purpose, which is the ultimate online transaction. When somebody opts in for your gift, we want to deliver on the promise, send them an email, make sure that we give them the thing that we promised. We want to introduce them to us and tell our story. That's called the welcome email. Follow that up with an offer to demonstrate that we're commercial. So we're reliable, we're memorable, we're commercial. We're doing that in 3 emails. Now, you've probably heard it said before that, according to the psychologists of the world, is that it takes 7 touches for someone to truly trust you. According to Google, the average in the B2B space is 14. So it's going to be somewhere between 7 and 14. Well, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all automated. This is Ben. In the past, I'll get an email from a prospect saying, please call me. I had no information about that prospect. Now I get a full list of their email, their website, how much money they're making, whether they're making profits, what they want to do with their business. My phone hardly rings anymore, but I get 4 times the amount of inquiries per day. I now have to refuse coffee meetings unless they book a 15-minute teleconference, and then it is a 2-week wait to get to see me. I now have too much work on. Thank you. My phone hardly rings anymore, but I get 4 times the amount of inquiries per day. And that is because Ben has a predictable leads engine. All right. We're talking about the strategic cost. If you don't have a strategic closing framework before, during, after the meeting, life is tough. If you don't have a predictable leads engine that's going to end the convincing, stop with the random act of marketing, stop you being over dependent on referrals, all of those things, the cost will be high. And people wonder why it takes ages to sign a client. Number 3, can anyone guess what my number 3 is going to be? This is the other mistake that we all make. The biz is you. Is that you? Does it sometimes feel that way? I remember years and years ago, I injured my back. I dropped something at a conference. I bent over to pick it up. Something in my back went, ah! I stopped being able to walk. I went and saw a specialist. The specialist said that I had a little donut in my spine called a disc. And the force had gone like that, and all the jelly in that jam donut had gone, and they would need to operate. And I was given a 1 in 20 chance that I'd never walk again. And there was a 1 in 20 chance that I'd never be able to perform my manly duties ever again. Very awkward for a guy in his early 30s, no kids at that time. And I had to work from home for 3 months. I had to work on my back from home. And this is 15 years ago, before teleconferencing and all the bit. So let me ask you, if you couldn't work for 3 months, what would your business look like? If you couldn't work for 6 months, what would your business look like? Would you have a business at all? All right, well, if we're talking about the strategic cost, one of the biggest costs that I'm going to say is commodity marketing or commodity business ownership. What's a commodity? A lump of coal is a commodity. Commodity is something that looks the same, seems the same, sounds the same as everybody else selling that same thing. And the only way that you can compete in a commoditized market is what? What's the only way that you can compete in a commoditized market? Absolutely right. It's price. It's a fight to the bottom now, isn't it? I have to say it. I look at most businesses, and when the business is you, they sound the same, they look the same, they do the same stuff. I say, what's your USP? And they say, our USP is that we provide better quality service. Right? We make our clients feel special. You know what? Do you know what that is? That's table stakes. It means nothing. I mean, like that's the bare minimum that your customers and clients expect from you to just stay in the game. And then we look at this other stuff, the marketing, the sales, the delivery, the business is you. All those things are all you, which means that there's a handbrake on scale. There will be there's a scale. Let me write this. I'm going to write down the words, right over here. Scale ceiling. We sometimes call this the hustle ceiling, but you can only grow so big because the marketing is you, the sales is you, but most importantly, the delivery is you. Now, if you want the delivery to stop being you, what are you going to need? So I've asked you the question before, the pointy end, I've kept it simple. A rate card, what a great place to start. When it comes to the chasing, I talked about a predictable leads engine. I talked about a couple of different elements of that. When it comes to this particular part, where the business is you, how are we going to change that up? How are we going to fix that? Now, this is a leading question because we've been talking about this recently on other calls. I see the words automation and system. I see the words system and team. I'm going to write the words codified methods. You can't have systems. You can't even have a team until you codify your methods. You know how like there's lots of posts where people say, if I was going to start again, here's what I'd do. Or if I had to start again, here's what I'd regret. One thing that I will say is that I wish I had codified my methods so much earlier. I wish that I'd started there. It's very difficult to start there because you don't know your methods. But I wish that when I changed the business, and I've changed the business model 2 or 3 times, I'm amazed at how long it took me to codify my methods. And Robert said, great insight. Thank you. Yep, you can't have the systems, you can't have the team, you can't have the automation until you codify the whole bit. Now, back to Naomi. Naomi not only broke down what she did into 3 parcels for a very specific target audience, she took it even further because she was able to codify what she was able to do, because she was able to break it down into little chunks that she could operate as a system, indeed a codified product mix, sometimes that we call a product ecosystem. She was able to take it even further again and transform a whole lot of her IP into products. So this is Naomi back on the screen again. I was giving away content. Now I sell my content. I was giving away meetings. Now I charge for my AWP. I was struggling to shift from being a skilled servant to a business owner. I've more than doubled my rates. My bookings have gone up, and I now have better fit clients who value my services and expertise more and more. I now actually have a waiting list. Now, when it comes to Naomi is a service professional. She sells her knowledge, she sells her expertise. But the same principles apply whether you're a software developer or a SaaS company founder, or whether you sell something a little bit old school like infrastructure support, cabling and cold storage solutions. If you can codify what it is that you do and the things that make you different, what you'll be doing is you'll be bringing your personal brand forward. And when you can bring your personal brand forward, that helps you with the predictable leads piece, because you won't need to do the convincing. You won't need to do the random acts of marketing because you've got your content structure. And the best way to sell something is through content. Indeed, you can sell the content as a loss leader, or as a stepping stone, or as a product for suspects to get people in the door. And then, of course, when it gets to the pointy end of the deal, other people can do the selling for you. You don't have to explain yourself 10 times. And if the entire meeting is codified to reflect your system or your method, and that's what you teach during the meeting, life just becomes super, super easy indeed. If we pull all these different things together, what do we end up with? We end up with a situation where you are the most relevant and logical choice, where you are the most relevant and logical choice. And as I said, it doesn't matter whether you are in, let's make this a bright yellow. It doesn't matter whether you are selling your knowledge. It doesn't matter whether you're selling software or SaaS. It doesn't matter whether you're selling infrastructure or lumpy things, e.g. a commodity. Harness those 3 things and you become the most relevant and logical choice. However, what are we talking about? The strategic cost to acquire a client. And the strategic cost is the opposite of these things, or indeed not having any of these things. So what I've got for you now to wind up our game changer is an RFA. An RFA stands for ready, fire, aim. Most people spend a lot of time firing. Sorry, most people spend a lot of time aiming. They aim. They get ready, they aim, and they never fire. We flip that. We want you to get ready. We want you to fire, and then you can do your aiming. So this is a clarity booster. And this is going to be the focus of the brainstorm, which I'm just about to go away and have with our Momentum Club members and a handful of our B2B plus legacy clients. But I want you to try and do it right now. I thought I was in the business of what you do. I thought I was a coach. I thought I was a consultant. I thought I was a SaaS founder. But all my clients really want is outcome. What is the fist pumping moment that they want? So I could say I'm in the business of training, sales, and marketing. But even if I just bring it back to our CAC, strategic CAC framework from a moment ago, if I bring it back to what I've just drawn on the screen, I could say that I am in the business of low touch delivery. I'm in the business of deals that close themselves. I'm in the business of getting better quality clients faster without fuss. So back to you. I thought I was in the business of, but all my clients really want is outcome. Now I'm going to ask you to do it one step further. I'm going to ask you to think about 3 things. What are the 3 things that they want? You saw me talk about 3 things. If you pull together those three things, what is the one big outcome? And then this is the secret sauce. This is the hardest bit. How could you deliver that one big outcome in 45 minutes? Because if you can build that one big outcome in as little as 45 minutes, you can transform that thing into a gift, into the topic of a meeting, an AWP, into some sort of high no-brainer product. Indeed, you can build an entire business all around that one big outcome. So with that said, I want to thank you for coming along. I'm going to recommend that you get on with the rest of your day. Other than that, I will see everyone for our Game Changer session next week. And then the week after that, we have a content creation accelerator. Woohoo! All right. Thanks, Danielle. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Tim. If you want to shortcut some of the tactics and strategies you're learning today, make sure you unlock our B2B client acquisition toolbox for free. It has over 20 guides and resources, calculators and templates to jumpstart your next B2B client acquisition campaign. Go to b2bschool.co/podcast. Go to that place to get the good stuff.